Ashe greetings, a grand rising, a grand day to you all once again, my fellow natural native earthly humans, my followers, subscribers, and to you all my well-wishers, and welcome to my sharing of another in-depth perspective, analysis, and interpretation of the very famous prose poem that is called Desiderata, written by the late Max Ehrmann. Now, most of you already know that I am yours truly, the mystic philosopher. And if you listen very carefully, you will also hear the instrumental music from one of my songs titled Smell the Rose, aka Sky's Song, along with my recorded chirping bird sounds, chirping and echoing the natural healing, comforting, charming, and therapeutic sounds playing in the background, the foreground, and all around. Now, as part of yours truly, the mystic philosopher's daily earthly grand rising celebration. And yes, I say grand rising and not morning, because I like vibrancy and the word, and if you check the etymology and the root of the word morning, you might not like what you come up with. So I deal with grand rising. So as part of my daily early grand rising celebration and gratitude expression ritual, yes, ritual, yes, my daily mental preparation, fine-tuning, recharging, and spiritual alignment with my source, with my ancestral God, if you will, and my orations, and my ancestors' spiritual invocation and spiritual communication. As part of all that is what I personally consider to be one of, if not the most deep and profound philosophical prose poem ever written. And yes, it is called Desiderata. From my perspective, and hopefully you too shall both shortly see and no doubt agree, that it covers almost all, if not all, aspects of our natural, native, earthly human lives on this side of reality. Be it our spiritual lives, our physical life, or spiritual, or moral, or educational, emotional, metaphysical, financial, you name it or you name them. And you will find something in Desiderata that can speak to it. Now, for your information, Desiderata is personally one of my favorite poems, and one that I both read, recite, interpret, and meditate on at least once a day. It is both my inspiration and motivation to energetically and positively start and full joy my everyday. Now, I am well aware of the fact that most of you, and especially you, my younger audience, my younger followers and subscribers, I'm well aware of the fact that you may not have heard of Desiderata before. And no doubt you will be asking the following 7 questions. In fact, I anticipate that you will be asking the following 7 questions. Yes, for clarity and understanding, and overstanding. And the first question, I anticipate that you will be asking is, what is desiderata? Second question is, what does the word desiderata actually mean? And the third question is, what are the things that are most desired in the world and in our lives today? And fourth, you will be asking, who is Max Ehrmann? And five, what is a prose poem? Six, what is philosophy? And the seventh question, I anticipate that you will or might be asking, is, who is a philosopher? And so I will proceed by answering these 7 questions, after which I will read or recite Desiderata for you. And then I will quote from Desiderata word by word and stanza by stanza as I do my analysis, as I do my interpretation, and begin sharing my perspectives, my insights, and interpretation of Desiderata. Now, question 1. Let me address question 1. And the first question to set the stage, yes, is question 1, and that is, what is Desiderata? Well, Desiderata is commonly known as a poem. Or when most people, especially those of us that are from a certain era, like the boomers, aka the boomers, they used to call it baby boomers, I know adult boomers. For those of us that are from that era and are known as boomers, when we hear the word Desiderata, the first thing that comes to our mind is the poem or the song known as Desiderata. Go up, listen to the song known as Desiderata. Well, it is an early 1920s prose poem that was written by an American writer named Max Ehrmann. And I will have much more to say about him, the author, Max Ehrmann, shortly. So please stay tuned. Now, the question number 2. And what does the word Desiderata actually means? Well, according to the online etymology dictionary, Desiderata means, and I quote, things desired or desirable, that which is lacking or required, something for which desire is felt, to long for, unquote. Desiderata. In other words, Desiderata is something that is needed, something that is wanted, something desired. Now, question number 3. What are the things that are most desired in the world today? Well, from yours truly, I, the mystic philosopher's perspective, the things that are most desired in the world today are, number 1, the desire for peace. First is the desire for peace with ourselves or with our individual self. It is the desire to be at peace with one's self. It is the desire to possess the peace that one ancient scribe wrote and described as, and I quote, the peace of God, aka source, which surpasses all understanding, unquote. Second is the desire for peace in and among households and families, or to say it another way, the desire for peace in our homes and among our blood families. Third is the desire for peace among neighbors. Fourth, it is the desire for peace among communities. Fifth is the desire for peace among nations and countries the world over. In fact, and from my perspective and analysis, if we don't have peace within ourselves, peace in our homes, and by extension, if we don't have peace among families, neighbors, communities, nations, and countries, then It is and it will forever be impossible for us to have world peace. The concept of world peace will be and remain a fleeting illusion to be pursued. To quote from His Majesty His Selassie's address today, United Nations back then. It would be a peace. The concept of world peace will be and remain a fleeting illusion to be pursued, but will never attain without the aforementioned peace. And 6 is the desire for justice. 7 is the desire for security. In fact, not just justice, but equal rights, the desire for freedom. I'm just giving you some of the things that, from my perspective, are desired, are needed, that Desiderata addresses. 7 is the desire for security, health, and wellness, the desire for happiness and success, and more. Now, question number 4. Who is Max Ehrmann? Well, according to a quick Google search, Max Ehrmann, and I quote, the answer is, quote, Max Ehrmann, September 26 to 1872. Rather, September 26, I guess he was born in September 26, 1872. And actually, he lived until September 9th, 1945. And that he was an American writer, a poet, an attorney from Tree, Indiana. Widely known for his 1927 prose poem Desiderata. And it gives the expression in Latin, Desiderata means things desired. He often wrote also, according to the record, he often wrote on spiritual themes as well, unquote. Now, according to a Wikipedia on Max Ehrmann, it said Max Ehrmann studied both philosophy and law at Harvard University. And from my perspective, the evidence has shown and is hereby showing in this prose poem, in his prose poem titled Desiderata, that he was indeed a true and practical philosopher. Question number 5, what is a prose poem? Now let me answer this question by first answering what is a poem. A poem, by meaning and definition, is, and again I quote, a piece of writing that partakes of the nature of both speech and song, that is nearly always rhythmical, usually metaphorical, and often exhibits such formal elements as meter, rhyme, and stanzaic structure, unquote. Simply put, a poem is a piece of writing with speech and lyrics that rhymes. Now here's an example of a poem with speech and lyrics that rhyme. And I quote, "The heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upward in the night." Unquote. Henry Wordsworth Longfellow. Now, the meaning of prose. The word prose, by meaning and definition, is, and again I quote, written or spoken language in its ordinary form without metrical structure. Unquote. Now, here's one dictionary's definition of prose poem. Quote, a piece of writing in prose having obvious poetic qualities, including intensity, compactness, prominent rhymes, and imagery. Unquote. Again, here is a quote from Wikipedia that, in my opinion, sums it up quite beautifully. And I quote: "Prose poetry is poetry written in prose form instead of a verse form, while preserving poetic qualities such as heightened imagery, paroxysm, and emotional effects," unquote. And that is the reason why Desiderata is called a prose poem. Again, now, what is philosophy? That's number 6, and number 7. Who is a philosopher? Now, the English word or the noun philosophy, according to one etymology dictionary, online etymology dictionary, is actually a compound word, philo plus sophy. And it is a direct derivative from the Latin and Greek word philosophia. And philosophia in Latin is defined as love of knowledge, pursuit of wisdom, systematic investigation. Philo by itself is defined as loving, and Sophia or Sophie is defined as knowledge, wisdom. In summary, one can logically deduce and conclude that philosophy, and by extension philosopher, by meaning and definition, is both the love, the search, the quest, the study, and the practice of knowledge, aka epistemology, truth, understanding, and wisdom. It is to try to know. Philosophy is to try to know and understand, and overstand the nature of things. It is to try to know and understand, and overstand the meaning and purpose of this thing we call life. It is to try to know and understand, and overstand how and why people, or how and why we humans behave the way we do. And it is to allow a person to devise a system by which he or she may effectively conduct his or her life in a good, productive, and meaningful way. And the one who love, search, study, and practice philosophy is known as a philosopher. So with those 7 relevant questions answered and explained, and in the interest of time, I think I should end this part 1 here. I will end this part 1 here. So please stay tuned and join me tomorrow or next time for part 2. If I am gifted with another day, and one in which I continue to experience in full joy, good and wholesome health, freedom, safety, and good relationships with people like you, all my listeners and well-wishers. I will begin to share with you my perspective, analysis, and interpretation of Desiderata, also known as another perspective and interpretation of Desiderata, by yours truly, I, the mystic philosopher. So please stay tuned. In the meantime and between time, please let me encourage you to lively up yourself, full joy, and be more and more and much, much more. And definitely, don't be less. Let no one be less you, for I am the mystic philosopher. Ashe, 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 I say.